Okay, room is unmuted. Chair Medina, if you'd like to call the meeting to order.
Yes, let's call this meeting to order for April 13th, 2026.
Okay. The first item will be a roll call vote. When I call your jurisdiction, if you'll please state your name. Atherton. Thank you. Belmont.
Tom McHugh.
Brisbane.
Colleen Macker.
Burlingame. Hillsborough.
Leslie Ragsdale.
Menlo Park.
Betsy Nash.
Millbrae.
Andrew Small Online.
Thank you. San Bruno.
Marty, Medina.
San Carlos. Thank you. And we have a quorum.
Thank you.
All right. The next item on our agenda is public comment. Are there any members of the public who'd like to make a comment on anything that is not currently on the agenda? There's no public comment in the room. And online, I see no hands raised and maybe some public, but none. Our next item will be an action to set the agenda and approve consent agenda items. Is there any public comment for the consent agenda? If you're online and like to raise your hand to make public comment. Seeing none, is this me asking for a motion?
Sure. You
Sure.
need a motion, why not?
I'd like a motion, please.
Run for public office.
The training ground.
Second.
Okay, that's moved by Director DeGolia, second by Director Mackin. And because we have a hybrid attendance, we'll do a roll call vote. Atherton.
Yeah.
Belmont.
Aye.
Brisbane.
Yes.
Burlingame. Hillsborough.
Yes.
Menlo Park.
Yes.
Millbrae. Oh, you're muted.
Aye.
You, San Bruno.
Yes.
San Carlos. Thank you. And the motion passes.
City clerk.
Oh,
Was something special required for Director Fund to participate?
no, his address was posted on the agenda and was posted at his location.
Okay.
So that is all set, but good
Great.
question. Next up on the agenda is the chair report.
Yes, I really don't have too much to report. I know we've been doing things in the last month with getting our executive committee filled out and our audit and finance filled out, which was reported last month, and we're moving forward. So I really don't have much to say.
The next item on the agenda is the CEO report.
Yes, I don't either. I will have a full CEO report at the board meeting. I think you all saw that we, in June, will be accepting the award as one of the best places to work in the Bay Area, which tip of the hat to the nominee as well as Leilani and the HR department for shepherding the process through. We are going to use it as an opportunity to leverage our new name announcement, so more to come on that and what that looks like. But that was sort of the fun news from last week, and I'll just have a more detailed report when we get together next week.
Fantastic.
And that is already next week? Yeah,
Yeah, it's already coming around again.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. And taking public comment on the chair report and the CEO report, if there are any members of the public, please raise your hand if you'd like to provide public comment on these items. Seeing none, moving right along. Our next item is to provide direction on WestLight Energy visual identity and brand expression, which our Director of Marketing and Community Relations, Gwen Rose, will take the wheel.
Yes. Good morning, members of the executive committee. I'm stepping in for Kirsten Brune, our Associate Director of Marketing, who is unfortunately not feeling well. So here to update you on where we're at with the visual identity and the brand expression. So in January, we were here and we presented on the rebrand effort, and Kirsten walked the committee through where we were at in terms of the process to develop the visual identity and messaging, to really setting the framework for everything that's going to come as soon as we start to launch. So today you're going to hear directly from our partners at OWN, and you're going to see the range of options that were explored for the visual identity and tagline, along with the different approaches that were evaluated and the recommended direction. And would just like to, extend our gratitude to the marketing working group. So that's Director Nash, Director Mackin, Shawn Medina, as well as Director Amabile for their time and commitment.
Director Dewey.
And Director Dugan, oh, thank you. Next slide.
Oh, I thought there was only one slide.
There's,
I think we're turning it over there.
I think there was,
No,
oh, was there only,
I only
okay,
got
all
one
right, well,
slide.
so then let me go ahead and hand it over to our partners at Owen. So to support the work that we've been doing, we partnered with Owen, an agency that specializes in brand strategy and website development. For the WestLight Energy brand expression, they've worked on the visual identity, the logo, typography, color palette, and then tagline. Oh, sorry, and looking. All right, so everything you're going to see today incorporates feedback provided from the marketing working group and the core brand team throughout this process. And we've been in really good hands with Owen. So I'm just thrilled to hand it over to Robin Baker, the creative director at Owen, who's leading the work.
Before we do that, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I want to just stop for a minute and say kudos to Gwen, Kirsten, you, Robin, and your team. I've been, part of this process and it has gone in amazing light speed, given the timeline that we're on this year. And we pushed the timeline because we really do want to unveil our new name and look and feel at the CalCCA conference in May, which is why this is coming here now and then to the board next week for hopefully that final sign off. I'm not going to steal any thunder from you, Robin, at all, but I do want to just focus you all on the decisions that we're going to be asking you to opine on today. And she'll walk us through it, but one will be the typography. What does WestLight look like to your eyes in terms of all small, all lowercase, uppercase? So we'll have that discussion. We will have a discussion about the recommended logo and show you what the backup option was and see how you all are feeling about that. And then the third area is color palette. And what do we want to lead with in terms of brand colors? And then I think if there's time, we're going to talk about tagline today.
You'll see the recommended tagline.
So those are sort of the, just so you know, you're going to get a lot of information right now. These are the 4 things that we're going to want your specific feedback. Okay. Can we help you with that? Yes. Okay, take it away, Robin. Thank you.
Oh,
Wait,
can't hear you.
wait. Robin, we cannot hear you, but you're not muted.
It's not you, it's us.
Yeah.
It's
That is likely true.
not you, but the volume here is, let me check this screen.
Technology.
You got it when you came.
Just so you know, I cannot hear Robin either.
Okay.
We can't hear.
It's not me, Robin, it's you.
Your microphone.
Looks like she's muted.
No, she wasn't muted.
Double mute.
Maybe the physical microphone has a mute on it, perhaps?
Yeah.
It's not reading it.
It could be your selected microphone, perhaps. Yeah, do you want to send me? I'm not reading sound from Mac microphone, is what she just said. What we can do, let me send, hopefully I can send it in the chat, information that you can join via phone. Or I might be able to dial you. That might be easier.
Did
Do
she
you
get
have?
presenter status? Is that it?
Yeah, she's in presenter status. Do you have Robin's phone number?
I don't have Robin's phone number.
I don't want you to. Oh, Michael Arnaldo, look at you. Thank you. We love having helpful staff on the team. He just sent her the phone information.
Okay.
But let me try dialing you too. No, never mind. That's not working. Robin, in the chat, you should see something from Michael Arnaldo. Those would be the call instructions you want to give a try. Wait, call out. Ooh, actually, there is. I might be calling you. Answer the phone. That's me. No, not yet.
Oh, no.
That's weird. That should have worked.
So maybe, and I don't know if this messes up Robin's time, but is there an opportunity for us to move ahead with the next agenda item while some of this gets worked out behind the scenes?
I am not sure that we could work it out behind the scenes.
I think
But
she's trying to
maybe
call
Gwen
it.
and Robin need to have a call about Plan B. Because
Maybe go
Gwen
to
might
another
have to
item.
Oh,
step
she
in.
just-
Here she is.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're
There you
here.
go.
You just say.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, this is gonna
She could feel her seat burning up.
this is gonna be a real fun time, y'all. So I appreciate, of course, it wouldn't be a really pivotal, important meeting without technical difficulty of some surprise or some kind. Of course, this is the first time this has happened with the team. Let me put you all on speaker and see if we can finally get this rolling. All right, and I'll mute my computer so I can hear you all. Can you guys try talking so I can make sure I can hear you from my end?
Testing, testing. Can you hear us?
All right, great. I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? This is Anders, Robin.
I can, Anders. Thank you. Yeah.
All
All
right,
right. Well, we're gonna daisy chain this call and we're gonna figure it out. So thank you so much for the quick problem solving on your end, guys. So let me start over by just actually introducing myself. So I'm Robin Baker, as Gwen said. I'm the creative director of the Owen team. We're so thankful just to be working with a team that's just so on top of it. The process has been really, really great. And we're really excited to actually share a little bit of where we've been and of course share where we're going. So I don't want to waste any more time. So I'm just going to hop us right into our deck here. So again, we're Owen. We're a brand building agency based out of Portland, Oregon. We work with clients big and small, commercial, civic, nonprofit, and we are going to, as I mentioned, going to be sharing some of the work that we've been doing with the WestLight team. That's going to include our actual brand design process that we've been going through. That's been informed not only by some brand strategy and discovery, but also through some of the committee members who are sitting in the room today. We're also going to chat through then, of course, where we're at with the current brand. As Shawn elevated, we've got a couple of key decisions that we'd love the committee's help in deciding. And we're also going to share where we're at with the tagline because we have a final selection that we feel really, really excited and really proud of. So I'm going to have to talk at you guys for a little bit, but I'm going to talk us through just this brand process, where we're at. We're going to pause for about, 8 to 10 minutes. We'd love to get just some initial feedback from the board, and then we'll hop into tagline stuff. So if there is a burning question, please let me know, throw a hand up in the Zoom, but otherwise we'll just kind of keep moving on through. All right, so as part of our brand design process, elevating something that's really important that comes out of discovery and strategy is our brand experience goals. This is just a high level view of what those goals are. As we do our work, we are constantly measuring our work up against this criteria. Some of this, influences visual, some of it text, some of it both. Some really important ones for us to kind of keep in mind is just that we knew this brand had to be flexible, had to feel professional and also engaging for community. We knew it needed to really communicate inclusively and multiculturally. As much as we want to look really, really buttoned up and really professional, we did not want to lose community at our core. So those were some really, really important goals that really factored into visuals, along with, some impact data, starting to think about how we can really elevate WestLight Energy's impact just to really solidify and build confidence in your storytelling and thus with the community, because this is really in service to them. The overall process here, some of you have been along for this ride. So obviously, we did some discovery and some strategy, but in terms of the design process, we start with logo design. So we pitched, and some of you were in the room for that call, 3 different distinct directions for the logo itself before then moving into brand expression. And brand expression is like the full edges of how the brand looks feels, behaves across color, typography, imagery, all of these things. And then where we're at currently is in our refinement stage. So we actually chose one of the directions that I'm going to walk us through and kind of push that forward based on the feedback of kind of the core group, the kind of feedback of the marketing committee who was involved in those logos. And of course, in regards to those experience goals that I elevated. So the first of those two directions we called the Optimist. And it featured a really energetic brand mark that really captured the spirit and the horizon of the West in this real, energetic burst of radial sunlight. So we paired that with a font that felt really clean, really kind of friendly, and really clearly communicating. But when we talk about the brand expression, we wanted to map how it would come to life. So here's just a few examples that I'm going to kind of click through. But one of them is just really, really simple brochure graphics, right? Leveraging bright light colors, a really approachable font, rounded photo frames that felt really approachable and friendly, but could also be just a flexible container system for media, really practical, hold text, hold imagery that could feel really informational. But we also needed to explore kind of a part of our graphic system that could be a little bit more energetic, that could be a little bit more community facing. So you see some social graphics here. This is just on the other end of some of the deck visuals that we had gone through with the team, stuff that feels really, really expressive. So playing with pattern, playing with gradient color, playing with some video and some patterning to really kind of attach or attract more attention, feel really kind of really engaging. So our direction 2, we called the Accelerator, and this is already in pretty stark contrast to our first direction. So the logo approach was a little bit more institutional, a little bit more stable, a little bit less energetic, and more about kind of institutional stability and strength. So it had a word mark that we led with a cute little starburst over the dot of the I. We also made a brand mark that was a W that incorporated that same kind of movement, little burst of energy incorporated into that W. The way that this started to come to life, the approach still leaned on, gradient colors, still wanted to feel bright, still wanted to feel light, but we weren't afraid to kind of ground in some deeper tones and a lot of kind of big imagery that felt a little bit more institutional, a little bit more kind of buttoned up. And the expression was also a bit more kind of documentary, a little bit more like, hey, big vision, big mission, a little bit less kind of community focused. So you can see that, as we, even in this kind of full expression, the patterning is a little bit thinner. The overall aesthetic is a little bit more reeled in. We're leading with a serif font here, which feels a little bit more serious. And ultimately, we axed this direction and went with direction 1 to push forward because it was really kind of lacking that approachable community element that was so important in our experience goals and that really needed to resonate with the people you serve and not so much about, hey, this is our big vision and this is about WestLight Energy and what we're doing, even if it is for the greater good. We wanted to really reel back into that community energy and collective movement, collective action, and this direction just didn't really have that. So how we push this forward, getting feedback from the team was like, okay, how can we make sure that we're really kind of bringing that energy? How can we kind of push on how that brand expression really kind of ties into us? How do we refine the logo mark to feel, a little bit less kind of quirky, a little bit, more friendly, really warm. And so this is the revised version of the brand. And starting with the logo, this is our revised WestLight Energy. So we still went with the Optimist here, but what we wanted to do was really bring in that kind of more friendly font. So something that feels really rounded, something that feels really still very bold and scalable, but really invites people in. And the brand mark we refined for some weight issues, but we also changed that color palette up to really lean into that kind of classic spirit of the West, kind of incorporating a gradient. Also changing the word mark part of the logo to lowercase, which tends to feel really friendly, really approachable, and just reads as a really even-keeled logo mark. Here it is on just a photo, just so you can see it in different applications. We also wanted to just take a look at the overall landscape here, right? You guys you are one of many, many CCAs across the state, and we wanted to gauge how WestLight could really kind of distinguish itself against some of these other players. And we feel really confident in the color palette, the weight, just the overall approach here, feeling really, really modern, really contemporary take on kind of the energy space, which tends to kind of lean into some kind of traditional tropes, right, of like kind of energy and bursts. We feel like we ended up with something that felt really, really distinct, really scalable. The overall system here, we have a couple of different tools in our toolbox, right? Contemporary branding doesn't rely on just here's your one logo that you slap everywhere. We have a primary logo that we would, use on kind of formal materials, share out to partners, but we can also have, a secondary word mark and a brand mark, so we can use these things a little bit more flexibly, and you're going to see that in practice across some of these key materials. But just a kind of a full toolbox lineup here. And you can already see just in some basic branding exploration, all the comps that you guys see in here are just going to be, placeholder messaging, placeholder designs. We're working with the core team to finalize everything. So this is not exactly what your business cards are going to look like or things like that. But to give you a sense of how this brand is really coming to life, you can see that color palette start to come forward in this stationery. You can also see us using some of these different logos in our toolkit, right? We don't always have to look the same every single time. So breaking up that word mark and that brand mark so that we can kind of create some really fun, expressive branding, even just using kind of the base elements. When it came to color, we looped in color into that first round one logo deck. Some of the committee members here will remember that. And from those very early days, the gravitational pull was really towards something that felt really vibrant, really saturated, really high energy. And in addition to just feeling really, really multicultural and colorful, we're factoring in accessibility here, right? You guys are government aligned. We want to make sure that our colors, we have a system that will accommodate those with low contrast vision. So these tiny little A's here just indicate some accessibility against white, things like that. As we're pushing everything forward, this is something that's a really big part of our experience goals, is to make sure that this color palette can still feel bright, still feel engaging, but that it's actually practical for everyone. We're also kind of employing these colors in gradients, right? You saw in both of those directions that gradient color has been important to us kind of from the start. And the reason why is because it actually mimics light. And in this case, we're pairing some of those really bright complementary tones to create a palette of gradients for us to work with throughout our branding system. And if you look closely, these gradients, they're not just straight lines. It's actually kind of radial. It mimics the sun. It mimics something that feels round, but still feels kind of soft. And that's kind of casting a really bright gradient of color across different comps to just add a little bit of subtle movement, right? This is about, the WestLight Energy brand is about kind of propelling and accelerating forward. This is a little bit of a subtle nod that we can start to communicate that just via color. For our fonts, we revisited the font palette from our original Direction 1. We wanted something that felt a little bit less techy, but still felt really approachable. And what we ended up with was a pairing of a sans serif font. So if you're not familiar with serif versus sans serif has no feet, serif has feet. And we're kind of mixing these typographic voices so that we can bounce between something that feels really rounded, really friendly and approachable, and something that feels really refined, a little bit elegant, so that we can kind of mix those professional and community-facing tones. And when we see all of this in practice, right, we talked about all of these pieces in the brand. What we're left with is a brand that can feel really bright, but very practical, informational, and professional, as you can see in kind of this brochure content, right? This is a little bit buttoned up, really clearly communicating. We can also, we kept our rounded corners, still feels a little bit approachable, and that container system can shift for us, and we can fill it with video, we can fill it with imagery, we can fill it with typography. Just kind of creating a really base system for all of our layouts that starts to feel really good. But this feels a little conservative, right? This is just one end of our brand expression voice. We didn't want to lose all of that kind of community-facing graphic treatment. And so we revisited our patterns, and using our brand mark as our inspiration, created kind of a suite of different kind of thick line patterns that we can start to incorporate into graphics in order to make them feel like they're really on the move, like they're really kind of engaging. And so seeing that in practice in the most conservative aspect could be something like this, where we have our bright gradient color, we have a cropping into some of these patterns, but something that ultimately still feels really clean, really clearly communicating, but just a little bit on the move. We could back that up with something like motion, right? Where if we're talking about movement, we're talking about impact and radial impact, or just kind of moving forward. This is like a very rudimentary, approach at how we could do that. So that way we're kind of carrying that movement and that message through every kind of touch point, whether it's static or it's moving. Pushing on this a little bit further, here's the social graphics revisited. So the mix of all of these tactics, when we start to incorporate our rounded frames, our gradient color, our patterns, imagery that really speaks to people, some high impact messaging and data graphics, what we're left with is kind of a visual language that feels really customer centric, and it's catching my attention. It's not feeling too much like a brand though, like I'm buying something, right? It's feeling like this is a resource for me. It's a place where I can learn and that I can actually, gain some insight from and that I want to engage with. And here's just a version of some out-of-home advertising, right? Like, how do we actually imagine this in the world? How is this going to communicate? How is this going to kind of catch my eye as a community member walking on the street in San Mateo? And then lastly, introducing some complex info, right? Not all of our comps are going to be just like advertising and quick hit social graphics. This is just a good mix of what we see as kind of a push and pull between all of our visual languages, stuff that feels really graphic and really engaging, and stuff that feels just really informational and really kind of high impact. All right, all. So with that, that's kind of where the things are at with the brand. I want to kind of loop back around to what Shawn was talking about with these kind of key decisions that need to be made. The first of which is the case of the logo. So the ON team, our recommendation is going with this lowercase. We feel like it's a little bit approachable. We feel like it's a little conversational, but we've also been working with the team to make sure that we still explore something in camel case, which is the actual legal way to kind of type or spell out the name per the kind of rename documentation. So one decision to be made there. And then the other decision is, you're seeing this kind of warm logo palette push forward as kind of our primary. We have a lot of different colors that you're going to see the logo in the full brand, as you can see in some of those examples. But when we talk about rooting in a color for what you share out with your partners, what you put on your stationery, we want to kind of root in a key palette, or what would be in like your website navigation. We want to root in a key palette to create some of that kind of internal consistency. So we're thinking, either we root in this warm palette, or there's the option to kind of lean into a cooler palette that kind of speaks a little bit more to kind of eco clean energy. We know that the departure from green was always kind of a decision that we wanted to kind of keep in the mix, whether that was a good idea or kind of drifting us away from where we wanted to go. So with all of that, I'm going to pause for about 8 to 10 minutes here. And I'd love to just get initial feedback from everyone in the room on, of course, these kind of two key decisions, but also just overall, I'll go back, just overall kind of first impressions and anything anybody wants to share.
Okay. Yes, let's start with Director Nash.
I love it. I've been through the various iterations on the marketing subcommittee, and this is fantastic. My only hesitation and I like the lowercase. My only hesitation is when you had all the different logos up, the orange looks a lot like Ava. And so, but when you go through, like, anyway, you got away from that in everything except for that one where you had all the logos.
Mm-hmm.
Next, Director DeGolia.
I think it's really good. I like the lowercase. I like the logo. I'm not worried about it being similar to Ava. I think WestLight is so different. We define ourselves. I think the energy with the warm palette is really good, and it's a great job, both the committee and staff and everybody. I think it's really a good job.
Yes.
I'm so excited about all of this and I love the name so much, but I am gonna be a little contrary. I like the camel case. The reason why is I would like the logo to match our legal name. I used to work for Price Waterhouse and then we became Price Waterhouse Coopers and oh my God. It was capital P, small W, because we didn't want Coopers to think we were getting too many capitals for our name. But then a capital C for Coopers, so it was very clear. So it was Price Waterhouse Coopers, one word. And in press, like you could get it in the New York Times or whatever, it couldn't fit in one line depending on the column. And it was, and then people didn't really know, like, wait, is the W capitalized or not? And so I do like the idea of, since it is a new name, of having our logo match our legal name. Because there will be confusion, right? They're confused now that are we PG&E and, you know, it's, how many words is that? So I do like the capitals, for, that, the legal reason and the confusion in the press and people, we're already trying to bring people along. I think if we are, unless we wanted to be lowercase go E.E. Cummings legally, but I don't think we're going that way because we've already gotten approved or from some town. So I do like the capitals. I was concerned with the different, where we had the rise, the raise, and the accelerate. I have two concerns. One, I wasn't sure if that was too many options, but obviously that I leave to the professionals. But the rise did remind me of Target's logo with the bullseye that they have.
Which one?
The rise, the one,
Can you go back?
I can go back.
That one on the left.
Oh.
When we had it in with the orangey red,
Uh-huh.
it really reminded me of the Target logo. Orange is the color of the Giants, so that's fantastic. Blue and green, I do like the way those colors move when we have the blue and green together, and to me, that's cool and clean and also closer to our current, so that ties in to our current brand identification. But that's, I like the Giants too. Those are my thoughts.
Director Mackey.
Okay, this is very interesting because being on this committee, we have, we talked about color palette, and when we saw the burgundies and cranberries, we went, oh, the setting sun. Seeing it now, I think it's way too sedate. When we saw the initial logos, the very first one, the vibrance of blues and greens just gave it life. It made it pour out like light. So I now have a problem with this warmer palette. And I know when we had committee meetings, we said, oh, all lowercase is great. But I actually agree with Leslie. When I see the camel, it has an energy that the lowercase seems to way too sedate. The lowercase makes us look established. It makes us seem warm and fuzzy, been on the couch for years, but I don't know that that's what we want to convey. And when we get into the color palette with a little bit brighter, I'm not talking getting out of the really strong primaries, but just the brighter shades, blues and greens, sky. And we did talk about departing from the blue-green that we've had as PCE, and yet seeing it, I'm more pulled to that direction simply because we don't want to put people to sleep. We want them to see WestLight and go, who is this? What are they doing? This is something new.
All right, any other comments? Is Director Tom or Director Fun? Just want to make sure everybody has an opportunity here.
I've said my piece about this in the past. I've never liked anything about this campaign, but I don't want to argue about it anymore. I don't think it sends the clearest possible message to the outside world about who we are and what we do. I don't like taking clean energy out of the name and replacing it with just energy. The name to me sounds like a fracking company. And so I'm not going to stand in the way of this. I'm not going to vote against it, but for 20 years, I've worked in a field adjacent to naming and branding. It's not what I personally do, but I've been through a lot of these campaigns led by my colleagues. This is not the worst campaign I've ever seen, but it's far from the best that I've ever seen. So take the logo. The logo sends a clear message about solar, which is great. It says nothing about wind, which is another major part of our portfolio. So left to my own devices, I would start completely over with this. But I'm not left to my own devices, so I'm not going to stand in the way of it. I will say it's not the worst campaign I've ever seen, but it's far from the best that I've seen either. The colors to me are okay, but I have no color sense at all. So, but I think as a identity exercise, this could be much better.
Director Fung, do you have anything?
Yes, please. Thank you, Chair. I like the green and the blue. I do also the what was the word? The capital letter on the front. What do you call that? The camel case. There you go. So, but if you go back to the green and the blue, I prefer that. I look at this not so much about. I mean, obviously, you have a very good articulation as to what are some of the reasons why you recommended the warm palette, and I understood that. Although the logo usually has about 5 seconds or maybe 10 seconds at the most in terms of a customer's impression, right? They spend maybe a few seconds looking at it, and then they develop some sort of a perception as to what this logo means and what this represents in terms of an organization. There's an element of the public where there's a certain amount of association with green energy, green, sort of perception. So I thought that might play into our favor if we present a green and a blue sort of a vibe to whoever looks at this and give this sense of clean, vibrance, energy that is not polluting and therefore clean energy. I understand the warm palette, although I don't know if I want the person who looks at this logo to look at this, oh, WestLight energy. It's warm, and does it have it? Yeah, I just prefer to see, something more crisp, more cooler, and to me it feels like it's more attuned to the message that we want people to get with the green and the blue. But that's just me.
Okay, I guess I'll.
I'm just gonna add to capture a little bit of Anders and Tom. I do feel with the blue and the green, because you can see the movement of the colors in the logo and that, I can't see it. I don't know if they're attempting it or not in the orange, but you can see the movement there. It does say wind to me when I see movement. And I think it is friendly and approachable that it's not so stark as the red colors.
Okay. So thank you all for the comments. Well, for me, I'm tending towards the green. I just see that easier on the eyes, and I'm very familiar with that from PCE. And I think that's kind of allowing us to kind of still respect where we came from, yet we're going forward with the whole name change. So my preference is our current tool core. As for the camel or not, I'm kind of ambivalent on each side. There's great good arguments, great points on why we should do it one way or the other. When we are going forward, and right now, Peninsula Clean Energy, everybody likes acronyms, right? So it's PCE. So for WestLight Energy, it's gonna be we, not WLE. And if it's not gonna be WLE, then maybe it shouldn't be capitalized for that light, but then again, it should match the legal description of our name. So that's kind of a question. I'm okay with either. I can't get past that we have 97% market share. And that our main drive here is making sure that we can continue providing cleaner energy at lower prices. And a large percentage of people aren't really gonna care. Just wanna be honest with it, and for, as long as we can continue our mission of providing cleaner energy at lower prices, I think people are gonna be happy, whether it's pink, blue, green, or yellow. I think people are gonna be like, okay, you know, how are you saving us money? With that all said, perhaps staff has enough direction, or we need to get a little more clear on the direction that's needed on the overall we're going forward. Dr. Nash.
I could go with either palette. I like that if we go with the cooler, I like focusing on the greens rather than the blues, because to me, the green is sort of the cleaner, as the blue tends to even make me think of gas. I feel strongly about the all lowercase. To me, but I understand what everyone else is saying. But to me, as soon as you start doing the upper, the camel, where people may start separating west and light. And it's just, I like the way it looks to me. It's very, very approachable to have all lowercase. And it's comfortable, but I don't see that as a negative. But I do worry that if we start, if people will try and separate out west and light, and I really like your comment about we as opposed to WLE.
Yeah, I'm sure where we're gonna go.
I mean, I think with an acronym, people use it because something is either too long, Peninsula Clean Energy, and it makes it easier to say. WLE is actually effortful to say. So the idea that that's going to become an acronym feels pretty low risk versus we. You know, we is easy. WE, we, that becomes pretty easy. So I'm not overly concerned with
I'm just thinking in
WLE.
the staff report, we're not gonna write Westlight Energy every time. We're gonna go
We
to.
are.
We
Yes,
are.
we are, uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
all our staff reports, every single sentence, we're not gonna go.
We will not, so this was, you might recall, sorry to interject.
So,
Yeah.
Back in November, October, November, when we had our retreat. That was part of the reason, to your point, Tom. Why we did not include clean in the name, because we wanted to move away from an acronym, right? However you feel about it, that's just why, that's the background,
Yeah, I get it.
right? So the thought was that it would shorten to WestLight.
Okay.
Is the likely sort of shortening. The legal name is both, is camel case, right? Because on the PG&E bill, we didn't want it to be all lowercase, that would just not quite look right on the PG&E bill, so we had to the team tested these out in different applications where we know our customers are gonna be seen. And if you think of West Elm was an example, I think you were in that meeting, West Elm is all lowercase for the logo. But in their billing and in other applications, if you read about them in the press, it's lower and uppercase. So there are examples out in the world where they do both. And so I think really it's about preference. But I can give a summary of what everyone voted if you guys want, because I was keeping tabs. Because I think this sort of comes down to that.
Sure.
Because there's gonna be the case, and Tom, I hear what you're saying, and I wish you could feel different about it, but I fully respect that you don't. And others may agree. But for those who are here, where we ended up was, and tell me if I'm wrong, we have the lowercase, there are two who voted for that, Betsy and Rick. The camel case was preferred by Leslie, Pauline. Tom, I didn't include you because you don't like any of it. Unless you want-
I will abstain from this one.
Okay, all right. Sorry.
That's okay.
Let's see, Anders, I think you liked camel case, correct?
thumbnail.
Okay, and then Marty, you were in the middle, so camel case wins, if this is a vote, right? And it doesn't have to be, and this is what we're trying to get is your feedback. Gonna go back to the marketing group one more time. And then we're bringing it to the board at the end of next week, so this conversation is super important, because. Yeah,
I think if we go with the camel case, you're gonna see WLE. People are gonna use that because it jumps out at you. And I think that's a mistake.
And I would just like to clarify that this is not an action item and we are not taking a vote. These are preferences and board direction, but not a vote.
Fair. So as it goes to the board, I mean, you're gonna have another 17 opinions, right? And somebody's gonna like this, and somebody's not like that, and they're all fair, because it's how you feel about it, right? And, right, and we're bringing that forward, that we have a lively discussion about it, and we came forward with, hey, you know, they're both okay, yeah. But what is the full board gonna decide? And having staff take a look and making some decisions, that's fine. And then we're gonna have an interesting board meeting. It's not gonna be as short, it's probably as some of them have been, so.
I wanna clarify though, so. Let's keep getting through kind of some of the feedback, and then I do wanna go to the next steps.
Sure.
So the cool color palette, the green, leading with green and blue, quote won by a vote of 5-1.
Sure, one, or no, you
Yeah.
one abstain.
So Betsy liked the green.
Actually, I liked the red, but I'm fine with the green.
Oh, I thought you
I liked
wanted to
the
lean
warm
into the
better.
green. Okay,
I liked the warm.
okay, so we could do two. So it was Betsy and Rick, I think, liked the warm. And then Leslie liked the blue-green palette. Colleen, I think you liked the vibrant blue-green, right? Tom's abstaining. Anders liked the green and blue, and Marty, you tended toward the green and blue.
Yes.
So that's kind of where that trended, just to be fully democratic about it. And do we wanna go back and try and land any further on this lowercase versus camel case? Cause that is definitely a little more split. You have a strong feeling about it, I think, right? Yeah.
I visually, I'm okay with the lowercase. It doesn't bother me
Just
visually.
for the logo, are you okay
For
with
the-
it?
I'm very concerned about giving people the option of lowercase if that's not our legal name.
So let me jump in there. I agree with Leslie on that one. Graphically, as a graphic, the lowercase is better. It's cleaner, it's simpler, it's, you know, it's less bumpy, I guess. Legally, I think the camel case is more consistent with the legal name of the entity, even though it's maybe graphically not quite as clean.
But I don't understand that with a legal thing. You can have, either one can be the legal thing.
It's how it's being used in legal documents, contracts.
Yeah, but we could make it lowercase if we want to. You can make it. You don't have to have uppercase in legal documents.
No,
have
you
whatever you
don't.
want.
I mean, the key though is that since the PG&E bill is the primary touch point that so many customers see a lowercase.
But I don't get the issue on the PG&E bill. Why does it matter? I mean, what's wrong with the lowercase on the PG&E bill?
We were concerned it maybe just didn't look as professional,
Yeah,
cause it reads as lowercase and it
Well, if you're
doesn't show
concerned
up.
that doesn't look professional, then you should be concerned that the lowercase in general doesn't look professional. I don't have that opinion.
Okay.
No,
Right, I like
but I
the
know from a
lowercase too.
legal
I like the
perspective, you can
lowercase.
do whatever you want.
Yes.
You don't have to have uppercase letters in a legal document.
I agree. For me, it's just about consistency. If we want EE coming to everything lowercase, even on the PG&E bill, everything. That's a decision and I would be fine with that. I just would like the logo to match so people don't get confused. Is that L capitalized or not? I've seen it both ways. I feel people asking me that question. So I would just like it to be consistent, but I actually don't mind everything, but I do think we've already moved forward with the JPA and gone to some towns and things with the
No, we have not. It does, so that's not reflected in the JPA.
Okay,
I mean, it does read, I think, W, capital L, but do I think that's gonna,
okay.
I don't think that's gonna. So maybe, Gwen, unless you have a strong feeling about this today, what we should do is remand this back and really let's hash it out in next marketing and
Sure.
come to ground.
That's a peachy.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Good. All right.
And I'm sorry to say, I can already tell you, we're not gonna be able to please all the people all the time.
Yes.
So we're
Yes,
gonna do
not
our
possible.
very best.
Director National.
I just want staff to have a large input in this as well, as the directors.
Agreed, 100%.
And we are surveying as we speak.
They're the ones that every day are telling people where they work.
Yes.
Yeah, so we can bring that information.
But so when,
Explain it or not.
That's a great
whatever.
point.
Yeah, I feel very confused about what sounds like a decision made about what goes on the PG&E bill. I don't understand why, if staff is recommending the lowercase, we would do the initial uppercase on the PG&E bill. Makes no sense.
okay, so let's take a back look at it.
Sure.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna look at it with Owen in both applications, right? Because remember, we've been looking at it where it lives in different parts of the universe, including the bill. And so let's just take a look at that. We'll bring it back to the marketing group. So next week, because we are on such a tight turnaround, the idea was to, so clearly I think the blue and green is the lead palette. Based on
Green and
this,
blue.
green and blue. So we'll lead with that. We probably, because there's a pretty clear preference, if it's okay, we're really trying to get down to one for next week. If we can. So, but I'm hearing you that the font is the question, right?
Yeah. And I know Robin still actually has tagline to
Tagline, let's do
present
it.
as well, but Robin, is there anything that you want to add around the conversation around camel case?
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to just kind of advocate for a misalignment between legal and what's on the logo. I will say that this is not the only precedent for case not matching a legal name, right? Any logo that's in all caps is not legally in all caps. Very rarely is it in kind of all caps. I think that when you think about, and Marty, it's funny because you're always talking about like the long term, where you're like, hey, I feel this way, but also I feel like in the long term, this decision could be this or it could be that, and it's going to kind of shake out anyway. I think that because it's all brand new, after like the way that people are going to come in contact like with your actual branding is going to be just like through this logo, right? I don't think it's so much of a disconnect to where people are going to be like, well, I don't know what this is, because if we're on like the PG&E bill and it's saying like, hey, learn more about WestLight at westlightenergy.org, they're immediately then like taken to this place. I think that we oftentimes can get caught up in things existing in a silo, but this logo is very, very rarely just going to appear on its own in the world, right? It's going to be in a block of other partner logos at its most disconnected. At its connected, it's going to appear with messaging. It's going to appear with colors and imagery. That's all going to kind of really tell most of your story. So as far as, you know, this camel case versus like lowercase, I actually think it's a really, really low stakes problem, because ultimately we're at the very, very beginning now. But as people become more familiar with you and they're on the website and the logo is in lowercase, but they're reading all about you on the about page, like people will understand that this is just kind of a legal name. So that's our stance just as the ON team. It doesn't mean that it's Bible, and it doesn't mean that it can't, you know, eventually kind of influence. If we go with the camel case logo, we go with the camel case logo. But I do think that ultimately being able to kind of communicate really, really kind of cleanly, and that this is just a flag for your brand. Your logo is not your brand, that like there's perhaps a little bit too much weight being put there when it comes to having everything 100% aligned. So that's just my 2 cents to kind of sit with. I know folks might feel a little bit differently in the room, but that's just kind of our feeling. When I know that we're already a little bit over time, do we still want to talk about taglines?
Yeah, let's do this.
We're nods in the room.
Because we wanna unveil this next week.
Yes.
Thank
Okay,
you.
great, great. Awesome. Well, all right, y'all. And also thank you so much for this feedback. Please know, not that I hope none of you are worried, but none of this hurts our feelings, right? Like we're here to kind of gauge how people are feeling. We know people are going to love stuff. We know people are going to absolutely not like stuff. So I just really appreciate the candor, and yeah, just looking forward to kind of taking that back with the team and just, you know, seeing what the board's thinking, seeing what the kind of core marketing team is thinking. This is a collaboration first and foremost. So thank you for your voices. So moving on to tagline, and I'll try to get through this a little bit quickly, because this, unlike, you know, kind of the branding, we've got some kind of decisions made here. Again, like the brand, I want to kind of frame up like what the purpose of our tagline is, right? The strongest taglines don't attempt to explain everything, right? They signal the central idea of your brand and allow the rest of the brand assets to carry the detail, right? So going back to like messaging and imagery and what your branding language looks like. For example, Nike's tagline is just do it. Nike's tagline is not Nike, a shoe company, right? It's really kind of capturing what the essence of the brand is. Same thing with Kaiser Permanente. It's a healthcare company. Their tagline is thrive. It's literally one word, right? So this is really about trying to capture who you are at a base level and not explain what you do. With that in mind, our tagline is now power with purpose. And how we arrived here is that power really alludes kind of cleverly to both electricity and personal agency, right? You guys are a community choice aggregate. It also speaks to kind of the power shift, right? You guys are kind of shifting the power to the people. And of course, purpose just signals our mission and just really clearly differentiates WestLight Energy from a for-profit utility, right? This is very, very different than PG&E. So being able to say, hey, power with purpose is something that resonates really, really quickly. It creates an emotional connection. It doesn't try to over kind of explain what the entity does. As far as kind of alts that we explored, we actually started at a much more literal place. Our initial boundaries were to try to find a tagline that is both short, emotionally connected, and uses the words clean energy and community. That is, you know, a little bit of a tall order, but we still, you know, really played with a lot of things that really tied in those words very, very literally, right? We know that losing community energy or clean energy in the name was kind of a big pivot. And so we wanted to see if we can kind of bring that back in the tagline. And ultimately, where we realized is that these just don't connect in the same way. They try to explain kind of what we're doing rather than kind of what we stand for. And so with a kind of more abstract tagline, right, we can say, well, our tagline expresses who we are. And again, it doesn't exist in a silo, right? Messaging explains what we do. So being able to use the tagline as like a quick sign on to a video or as an Instagram story versus what are all the other visual and textual cues about this brand that happen in practice? So seeing power with purpose is like an eyebrow, and then using messaging to convey what we're doing. So something like expanding community access to clean energy resources and tools, right? That's what you do, but it's not going to be your tagline, right? It's just like a mouthful. So being able to have something that's quippy and connective that quickly resonates versus seeing this in context and having power with purpose be like a little eyebrow or even just a little sign-off footnote, and allowing all the other storytelling to really carry the brand forward. So that's what we've got on tagline. I do have a timeline slide, Gwen, but I don't know if you wanted to get any feedback from the room about the tagline approach.
Yeah, let's.
Okay, I'll jump in here. I really like this part of the campaign. I think this really reinforces our basic mission and sends a clear message to the outside world about who we are and what we do.
We were absolutely thinking about you in those.
All right.
Got it. Great job. So comments, questions, Director Mackin?
Power with purpose is it, says it all.
Good.
I will second all of that, and also I'm glad you moved away from the more wordy ones and also the word community. that is who we are and it'll be everywhere else, but. You know, we're not pedaling bikes and creating power with our neighbors, so we. You know, we are a community and we are for the community, but also. I think what you have is really our essence and it's broader.
Director Fund? Any
Yeah,
comments?
power purpose is good. I like that tagline. I think it sends a very strong message, very assertive. Yeah, it speaks to our identity, why we're here.
All right, so I like that too, so that's unanimous. Just wanted to ask, is the power of we anywhere in?
That's our internal.
So that's an internal
We're all
thing.
think so.
Okay, I just wanna make sure that that's,
Yeah.
It's very catchy.
yes,
Probably.
yes,
I don't
okay.
know if we'll see it, we might see it out in the world.
We can. I can imagine it being a part of a
Okay.
brand awareness
Yeah.
campaign as we get established, you know, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see it on TV.
Absolutely. I think there's lots of room for little like backups and things to reemerge and it might be a series that like a community outreach series called The Power of We, right?
Yeah.
Like I think as WestLight Energy's kind of programming and regular kind of outreach comes together, then a lot of these will kind of start to surface and you guys can have like this, you now have like, you know, the essence of your brand and now there could be just like a series of kind of campaign names and things that really kind of expand and grow on that. So we're really excited about the tagline and I'm thrilled that it's resonating with everybody.
All right.
Okay. So wrapping it up.
Let
we
me
good,
make one
Robin?
more comment. I
Oh,
will say
sorry.
where you're showing the power with purpose and WestLight Energy. I'd like to see power with purchase be the same font and at least the same intensity of white as the WestLight Energy. It right now it's downgraded.
Yeah.
From WestLight Energy and I don't like that.
Okay.
Especially on the right. Like, it's really small.
Okay, we'll take that back, okay?
Make it better.
That's it.
Okay, yeah, so now we're just gonna talk about timeline. There might be a timeline slide. So we are nearing the end of the brand development phase. This Wednesday, the marketing working group will reconvene with the core brand team. We'll go through the final feedback. We're also collecting that feedback from staff. And we'll really take that camel case conversation in. Any other suggestions on color palette? And then at the board meeting, as Shawn mentioned, we'll actually unveil the near final visual identity. And then aiming for an early May deadline so that we can then start to apply it across the website, all collateral in time for that rollout. So. Yeah.
Gwen and Robin, I have a request just while we're sitting here. And I think we have enough time. I would love to end in the board meeting with the slide that has that visual we're talking about or starting to talk about for Cal CCA.
Okay.
I'd love to see if we can get something close to that for the board meeting. Because seeing it all wrapped up as sort of a gives you a visceral sense of what we're up to. And I'd love for people to feel excited at that level.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, great discussion. Next,
Awesome.
Thank
Any
you, Robin.
public comment, yes. Important public comment, no one here.
Thank you, Robin.
Anybody online?
Thank you all so much.
Would like
Pleasure
make
to
a
meet you
pub-
all.
If anyone online would like to make a public comment, if you'll please raise your hand in the Zoom app. No hands raised. Oh, our next item is a recommendation to the Board of Directors to approve an agreement with the Association for Energy Affordability for the Equitable Building Decarbonization Program for a total not to exceed amount of $2,412,000, inclusive of $1,440,000 to serve single-family homes and $972,000 to serve multifamily homes, which is an action item today, brought to you by Yana Popachak-Lande, who is our Director of Innovation Strategy. Yana, take it away.
That was a mouthful.
Now you see why I want.
I get it, I get
That
it.
was, I love it, that was, the title is a real mouthful, but the program is really exciting, excited to be here, see you all. We're talking today about one of our grant funding opportunities, or GFOs, that we pursued last year and we won with partners. So we're talking today about how we're implementing that new program.
And that program is called the Equitable Building Decarbonization Program, or EBD program. Next slide, please. Oh, I have the clicker. Okay, let's see if I can. There you go. So we're going to talk about what is the EBD program, what is our role under the EBD, and then the recommendation that Nellie just read to you already. The background of the Equitable Building Decarbonization program, actually, before I get into all that context, I'm just going to make it really simple. The Equitable Building Decarb, or EBD program, is very, very similar to our home upgrade direct install program. When this came out initially, and I'm going to talk about the context in a second, we read the suggestion by the CEC and we're like, yeah, that's our home upgrade program. Incredible. So it provides electrification for low-income customers, residential low-income customers. So when we saw that, we're like, well, this is something we should bring to our service area and kind of combine with our existing services so we can reach more customers and give them comprehensive services. It's always really complicated. If you have an existing local program and then a statewide program is created, you want your customers to be able to take advantage of the statewide program, but also not duplicating efforts and creating confusion with your existing local program. So that's why we got involved, and that's kind of the context that I just wanted to provide before we get into it. So what is the EBD program? It was created by the California Energy Commission in 2022. If you all recall, this was a time when we still had a surplus in our state budget, the rare time. It was created by that surplus. The goal is to reduce GHG emissions from existing buildings and advance energy equity. There were two components. The one that's really relevant for us is here. That's the direct install program. So the DI program for low-income customers that I just briefly introduced. It has a statewide budget of over $550 million. And it is being implemented all across the state. And the CEC decided that they wanted to implement it in three regions. There's a Northern California region, a Central California region, and a Southern California region. As our luck has it, our service area is split between the Northern region, which is San Mateo County, and Los Banos, which is in the Central region, which really didn't create too many issues, but. So what is the scope? Briefly talked about this already. It's whole home electrification. It's very similar to PC's home upgrade services, direct install program, direct install for low income, where we go into a customer's home. We take care of the entire installation process for the customer with pre-approved contractors. For the EBD, the requirement is that you electrify at least 2 of the 4 end users in a home. So the 4 end users are space and water heating. So a heat pump water heater, heat pump HVAC, cooking, or laundry. You can do all 4. You have to do at least 2. In addition to the electrification measures, the customer gets basic energy efficiency upgrades, insulation, duct wrapping if you have HVAC ducts and these kinds of things. And there's some funding set aside for home remediation upgrades too. If you have safety concerns in your home, or you just have an electrical panel upgrade, there's costs set aside for that by the program as well. And importantly, all that at no cost to the customer. So that's huge. It is a direct install program that I already talked about that's implemented to various installation contractors, should be very streamlined and simple for the customer. The eligibility is always important. So it's single family and multifamily homes, residential only. It has to be homes constructed before 2020. And you have to replace an existing fossil fuel space or water heater. You can't already have an electric version and just upgrade. The idea is really that GHG reduction and electrification. In multifamily units, right, we have the tenant units where people live, and then you have the common areas. Both of these can be served. And importantly, this is a program only for income qualified customers. So we often now use in California AMI, area median income, as that requirement, and it is up to 80% of area median income. And multifamily, at least 66% of all units, of all tenants and all units, have to be below 80%, at or below 80% AMI. you can show that either via like income verification, or you can also just be enrolled in an existing program like low income program like Care Sarah or Live. There's lots of programs that qualify customers for participation in EBD. Again, very similar to what we do under our own program. And this is now the most important part. EBD, it had 560 million customers, but if you look at all the low-income customers in California, far more customers than the program can serve. So the CEC pretty quickly decided that this program is going to be rolled out initially in what's called an initial community focus area. The program is not going to be available for any low-income customers in the state of California, but only in certain communities. The intent is that eventually the program will expand and be available to any low-income customer in California. But the CEC really wanted to test the concept first in small communities, learn, and then expand from there. And I have to say, there's been no timeline or funding set for that expansion into non-initial community focus areas. And our budget is not looking as rosy anymore as it did in 2022. So we shouldn't be naive about, I don't foresee any of that expanding anytime soon. So it was really essential for us to advocate for our service area to become initial community focus areas. And that was my work when I initially got into this in 2024. We knew that we wouldn't want to become, so this was a grant funding opportunity. It was an RFP and a GFO, the CEC calls it, that entities had to apply for to become administrators of this program. We knew we wouldn't want to do that for the whole Northern or the whole Central California region because that's much larger than our service area. We knew that's not our role. But my goal was really to advocate for making sure that some of that funding comes into our communities and we become an initial community focus area under the EDD. And so we were successful in doing so and have now 2 initial community focus areas, as you can see on the list. In Northern California, East Palo Alto was designated an initial community focus area. And in the Central California region, Los Banos was designated as an initial community focus area. And how the CEC gave pretty strict requirements on what can and cannot be an initial community focus area. And in short, it's areas where customers are faced with higher than average energy burdens. There's high levels of ambient air pollution and customers being underserved by existing programs. So then what is our role under the EDD? Again, I've kind of already touched on this, but I was brought on. One of the core goals of my role is to diversify our revenue, bring in more funds for existing programs. So we partnered with 2 different entities because, again, there were two different regions, different folks applied for the different regions. The Association for Energy Affordability applied for the Northern California region. They've been working on multifamily energy efficiency programs for 20 years. They're a very established entity in Oakland. And then the Center for Sustainable Energy, they're located in San Diego. They applied in the Central California region. They also very established, have worked on energy programs for over 20 years. Both of these won funding. So the Association for Energy Affordability is now what's called the regional administrator in Northern California, and the CSE is the regional administrator in the Central region. We picked the right partners. They won, and both of our community focus areas were approved. Very importantly, both these entities, they run, administer, implement this EBD program. As the regional administrators, they are the core implementers of the program. We don't do that. In that sense, it's very different than what we do under our home upgrade program. Home upgrade, we administer the program, we oversee the contractors, we have to do QA, QC, we oversee the entire program. For EBD, these 2 entities, AEA and CSE, do all of that. They run the program, they manage the contractors, they did RFQs to select the contractors. They have the the customer contact. They work with local CBOs to educate and recruit customers. So they do everything. What we do is that we provide co-funding so that the dollars stretch further.
What is the co-funding balance?
Yeah, get into that word. Thank you, Director DeGolia. That is the next step. And before, so we're working with 2 different partners. CSE is having a little bit slower rollout. They're not quite ready yet to roll this program out, probably in the fall. So I'm coming back in the fall to talk about the CSE and the Las Banas engagement. Today we're talking just about East Palo Alto. And here is the co-funding split. So we are, yeah. So we are to talk about the funding first, because that was Director DeGolia's question. It's a 30-70 split. We're co-funding 30% of the forecasted cost. EBD is paying 70% of the cost. So what that really means is that we're achieving 3 times the results with the same amount of PCE ratepayer funding. Like we're tripling our impact. That would mean, based on the forecast of the goals of serving up to 100 single-family customers and up to 90 multifamily customers. I'm going to talk about multifamily in a second. We know that for multifamily customers, the forecasted costs are per customer around $30,000. For single-family customers, up to $40,000. If you do the math and add a little bit of a buffer in case there's overtures, then you get to about $8 million in customer incentives. 2.4 would be paid by PCE and 5.6 by EBD, the program. So really the point being, we get so many more customers enrolled. We are bringing the funds to our customers and getting more customers enrolled than we could with our own funds. Yeah.
Is this, are those numbers, I think from the staff report, these are for the total for both Los Banos and East Palo Alto, or this is
just East Palo Alto? So there's, I don't want to guesstimate on Los Banos, but it's probably about the same. Los Banos.
So we'll be putting somewhere around $5 million into this program.
Yeah, yeah. So they are putting about 5, we are putting about 2. They're putting 5.6, we're putting 2.4.
Both Los Banos and East Palo Alto.
Oh, yes, correct. Yes, yes, correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, correct. So, and here's a little bit more details of how that breaks down. We are really excited that this gives us the opportunity to fund some multifamily homes. You know, we are doing limited multifamily engagement right now. AEA has experience doing multifamily. Yeah, they ran RFQs to select contractors, and we're really excited that we can start reaching some multifamily renters through this program. So the request is to delegate authority to Shawn to execute an agreement with AEA, just AEA for the time being, for the EBD program in East Palo Alto. It's a term through 2029, but we expect that most of the work will happen this fiscal year, like over the next year. We're starting now, over the next year. And a total not to exceed amount of 2.412 million, which 1.44 are expected to serve single family and a little bit less than 1 million expected to serve multifamily homes. All right, questions?
Sure.
Just one question, and I think I know the answer, but if a family after this hopefully is approved, if a family in East Palo Alto calls our call center and says, hey, you know, I heard you do this building electrification for my multifamily unit or my single family home, I think I qualify. Do we just then, since they're East Palo Alto, officially refer them to this program?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, right now, as of now, anyone from East Palo Alto who calls us about home upgrade will be referred to this program. Anyone who calls us outside of East Palo Alto will be referred to our own program.
Great.
Director Nash.
Couple questions. How is it going to handle novelty homes?
Yeah, we asked the implementer
Our
that.
favorite topic.
Yes, our favorite topic. They said that they have not decided to not serve knob and tube. But they also are a little bit, they have agreed that they don't know the full extent of how complicated it is. And our staff, Philip and Paige, set up a call with them to tell them a little bit about our experience, and they really appreciated that input. And I think they're going to take that back, and they are serving Naventu. It's again, luckily not something we have to deal with, right?
yeah.
Because we are not responsible for contractor selection, install, Q&A, that's all AEA. And we are giving them kind of some tips and lessons learned from our program.
But as of right now, it sounds like they will be serving.
They will be serving Naventu, is what they said, yeah.
Wonderful. And then is there anything, any requirements as far as that they can't sell the home within a certain period of time?
No, there are tenant protection.
That was my next
So that
question.
was, not for single family homes. For tenants, there are tenant protections that are pretty strict. I don't have them on top of my head. I can look them up. But there's definitely no rent increases. That's the only thing I remember. I don't wanna lie, but I can look them up. There's definitely, if you're a homeowner or an owner of a multifamily property, you cannot, there's a lot of tenant protection.
I think it would be helpful to have that information at the board.
Yeah, okay.
And also just if there's any, it's obviously people have their home upgraded on the state and PCE's bill and then turn around and sell it as and get more money out of it. It seems like there should be some sort of
Recovery.
recovery, exactly, which I think we've got in what we're doing in whole home.
I know we'll have to double check.
Yeah,
I believe
that's a
we
good
do.
question. Yeah.
Other questions? I have a question.
Yeah.
So great project, understand, you know, why it wasn't allowed to expand into other parts of our county where there are plenty of, homeowners or renters that could definitely use this assistance. So how does a multifamily property owner qualify just by it being 66% of the residents under the AMI requirement? Is there any requirement to make sure that property owners kind of like not a slumlord, which has a bad record of kicking tenants out and has a backlog of code enforcement cases, that just kind of like someone that's taking advantage of the system to make sure that these absentee landlords who kind of prey on community members don't just get to upgrade it, and then how is there assurances that the upgrades, that the savings are actually going to be passed on to the renters?
Yeah.
So I don't,
Good question.
so all this information as we get to our board, that would be great to have. all
Okay.
that.
Perfect, yes, I'll definitely look into the tenants' rights part. The quote unquote slumlord part, bad property owners. I'm not aware of any limitations in that regard. All the eligibility requirements are based on residents, not on property owners. But it's a good question. I will look into that too. I doubt, typically these requires engaged property owners, you know, there's a lot of hoops even a property owner has to jump through to participate in a program like this.
Sure.
So I doubt that the ones that don't care will do it, you know,
Okay,
but that's just my feeling right now, so I'll look into that.
great. The last question that I have then is the limit that for a home of how expensive it could be, because that can continue with change orders and depending on the home, that there should be some limit on how much each home could achieve, and if it's the recommended amount with that buffer, it would be really, I think, important to make that sure that's clear, that we can't do the whole home with all four, but we can do 2 of the 4.
Yeah, that's a good point. So just to clarify, we have to follow the requirements of the EBD program, and the EBD program does not have a cap on cost per home. However, they have goals to serve and a max budget per community focus area. So of course, they are inherently limited. But they talk a lot about averages. You know, if you encounter a customer that really has a lot of needs and maybe has a $42,000 project, the hope is to offset that with another customer who has less needs and just has a $22,000 project. So The program doesn't have caps. What we have done, so we can't really establish caps as PCE, but we have established, and I should make that more clear, I'll do that in my presentation. We have established that any project for single family over 40,000, we have a right to audit. And we will audit.
That's what we do in
That's-
our home upgrade program.
We do that too. I'm actually
No,
not.
I don't. I'm
Oh, no,
asking-
no, that's what we will do under this program.
Oh,
So basically how this works, there will be a home assessment. The Ortiz group and AEA will go into each customer's home, they'll do a home assessment, they'll develop a scope of work. That home assessment will be reviewed by the program administrators, by AEA, and that will be shared with us. And they will tell us in weekly reports or bi-weekly reports, what the scope of work is and what the forecasted costs are. Any project for multifamily that's over 30,000 and for single family that's over 40,000 will be flagged. And we'll go to Paige and Philip, our home upgrade folks, for review. We all don't expect many projects to be over that limit, because again, they have goals and limited budget. But if that were the case, we will review and we will get into the details of why the cost is so high.
One, two, sorry.
So I think that it would be helpful with this presentation for you to give us some information on our existing home upgrade program, because they're so close. And my guess is, since we're only paying 30% of this is gonna be much more cost effective for us than our program where we're doing 100%. That's certainly gonna be true, but we should have the information and know how many homes have been upgraded and what is the average cost and what are the parameters like you're dealing with here between multifamily and single family and anything else that's relevant. It's a good opportunity to update the board on that program, but it's so relevant to this, I think it's necessary.
Yeah.
Couple other questions. When it says electrify, there's 2 of 4 end uses in a home: space, water, heating, cooking, and laundry. Could someone theoretically just do cooking and laundry?
No, it has to be, good question. It has to be
One
one
of
of the either water and space plus another one, yes.
And
Because you have to replace the fossil fuel appliance. Yeah.
And then of that, it says up to 100, this is customer benefits, up to 100 single family customers and up to 90 multifamily. Out of a pool of, do we have any idea how many are in these Palo that would fall into this category?
I don't know. It's a good question. I'll look that up. See if we can, we can look, what we can typically do, we can look at CareFera enrollments. That's the best proxy we can get, probably.
And then is there any effort right now to work with, and actually, let me say, first of all, I think this is fantastic, and especially that PCE is contributing the money and not all the administrative.
What makes us have to do our own.
Yes, great job. Has there been an effort to work with East Palo Alto or just give them a heads up with the community development, with all the permitting and everything that they will be going through?
Yeah, we did, so Shalini, I believe, was the person, fairly certain. She was at the recent town council meeting to talk about our JPA updates. And she mentioned it there was a brief discussion. We have to be a little bit careful to not, we've been asked by the program administrator, like if to do any presentations about the program or anything about the program should really come from them. So, because we're not implementing and running the program. Yeah, so but we have communicated with them, and I think they will be reaching out to them. To maybe we can help connect the dots basically, rather than us being the spokespeople. Yeah.
Just I know that's been one of, with Menlo Park's home upgrades, that's been one of the challenges. So
In terms of just having the customer know who to call, is that what you mean by that?
no, just to keep the processing through our community development, the number of applications and given everything else that's going on. So East Palo Alto might want to reach out to Menlo Park.
Yeah.
To just get any hints.
Suggestion.
Okay, any more comments? This is an action item.
Oh, but
Sorry.
before we do
Oh,
that,
yes.
can we please take public comment?
You're absolutely right.
However, There's no public in the room and there's no public online. But we did our due diligence.
Yes, you do have to ask for it. Hearing none, directors, action.
So moved.
Director Nash,
Second.
Director McCune, second. All in favor? Oh, roll call vote.
Sam, oh, I don't know what I got in the board habit. Atherton,
Yes.
Belmont,
Yes.
Brisbane,
Yes.
Burlingame, Hillsborough,
Yes.
Menlo Park,
Yes.
Millbrae,
Aye.
San Bruno,
Yes.
San Carlos, and the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is an update on Peninsula Clean Energy's Enterprise Risk Management Program, including key risks and mitigations. Nick Bijur, our Chief Financial Officer, will kick us off, and Kelly Lou Quintal, our Risk Manager, will also be presenting. Take it away, Nick.
Great, this is the last item of the day. This is just.
Do not.
That's Kelly. This is not a action item, it's discussion. We were here back in October, updating you on our enterprise risk management program. We've spent a lot of time on energy risk, which we've updated this and other committees many times, but now we're moving into the enterprise, which is every risk that we can think of. And we just said at that time, we would be back early this year to give you an update on where we stand, the progress we've made and the path forward. And so that is the purpose of this exercise. We're not going to rehash all the risks at this point. We're going to talk to you a little bit about the work we've done over the last 4 or 5 months and then the path forward. And Kelly Lou Quintal, who's our risk manager, who you've met before, is going to lead us in the presentation.
Good morning, everybody. So as Nick mentioned, last October, we came to the executive committee and went through a list of our risk register, which had a list of 21 known risks. And from there, we narrowed it down to top risks. After our October meeting, we assigned risk owners to each of those top 10 risks just to get more further define those risks and document those risks and figure out what mitigations were in place and then any potential mitigations that could be in place to further reduce those risks. So that's what we're here today to kind of go through that.
Kelly, really quick.
Yes.
The risk owners are essentially the directors of the department or the lead staffer on a particular item.
Yes,
correct?
correct. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're all directors.
They're all directors.
You're, and you.
I do, yeah.
And me, I'm a
That goes without saying, but just
Senior
to be
staff.
clear,
Yeah.
there's a person who,
accountable.
Yes.
Or senior
there's-
staff.
Yeah.
thank you.
I know it's tough to see on the screen, but here's a list of our top 10 risks. I won't go through all of it right now because it's going to go through the next slides. But the good news is all of our top 10 risks, we all have controls in place to mitigate any risk. So that's the good news for each one of those. So the first risk, the PCE rate's not competitive. So that's, where our risks aren't competitive with PG&Es. One of the big mitigations we have in place is the rate stabilization fund that Nick is managing. Potentials that we have is, further funding that rate stabilization fund and then potentially look at budget reductions and cost saving initiatives. The next one is the billing data and customer payments. Right now we have Calpine that is our third-party vendor that validates and reconciles all of our transactions with PG&E. Potential mitigation that was identified was potentially looking at a backup vendor in case Calpine decides to leave the business or, they're just not up to speed with what we
Sorry, can I
want.
interject for a second?
Yeah.
I do want to say, so when we analyzed all the top 10 risks, we were comforted by the fact that we've had good mitigations in place, but we can all do better. We can always have more insurance to use a risk that you're all familiar with. And so the goal, our next step is to look at what are those additional mitigations that we could put in place and then decide if we should. They may be cost prohibitive, you can buy insurance, spend too much money and you'd be over-insured, to use again a metaphor that we're probably all familiar with. And so purpose of this exercise and then we're not saying we'll do all this. These are just things we could do, the additional mitigations, and then we'll go through an exercise of, does it make sense? Sorry, Dr. Mann.
Are billing errors mostly PCE side or PG&E? Because our personal bill at home has had a billing problem with PG&E that's gone on for 4 months.
So we do have, on PCE side, periodically, we do have billing errors. Sometimes that's It doesn't happen often. Thank goodness, but it has. And so sometimes that's been our team, sometimes that's been Calpine. The really great news is that it's corrected immediately. So we do have steps in place to act quickly to fix it. So in no case, other than there was a big one about 4 years ago that took several months to correct, only because we were having to go back and redo grades and stuff like that. The much smaller errors that have occurred are corrected much better.
Ours on bill pay, they just drop it off and then they come back with 2 months and then they drop it off again.
I mean, there's all of that, but we have a very good track record, but it is not perfect. The best thing we can do is correct it immediately.
And I know Calpine does get audited annually and we review those results with Calpine. So yeah, there have been process issues that the auditor has found, but they've been very minor issues. Next one, cybersecurity. We have a lot of mitigations in place with, access, monitoring. There always could potentially be more. So that's, something like Nick said, we have to look at the value and the cost of, implementing more mitigations for cybersecurity. Renewable energy procurement cost and availability.
No, sorry, on cybersecurity. I think we also talked about this, especially I think, Director DeGolle, you had brought this up. We don't plan to bring back in a public setting, like all of our cybersecurity firewalls and things like that, because why feed it to the bad actors? But since that discussion, I feel like that was probably 18 months ago or so. There's been a lot of activity in Ken's department around cybersecurity, additional controls in this. We can tell you more.
Next one, renewable energy procurement cost and availability. So a mitigation we have is having our energy risk management policy. So that, guardrails of what can and can't be done and some, limitations on dollars and volumes. Potentials that we're looking at is, improving practices for planning and procurement, and then potential additional hedging. On the regulatory and policy risk, the current mitigations we have is, just our engagement in the regulatory and legislative arenas and our collaboration with CalCCA. Potentials that we're looking at is, data analysis to determine, potential likelihoods of conditions that may trigger CPUC actions and, potentially develop stronger relationships with our political decision makers. Changes to macro environment. That's kind of encompassing a catch-all. Right now we have active lobbying. We track all of our decisions and policies, and potential mitigations that we're looking at is, like Gwen was talking about, enhanced in brand awareness and then lowering rates to increase customer savings. Next one is supplier counterparty contractual risk. Right now we have counterparty credit reviews, just to review those vendors before we sign contracts. We have collateral requirements under our contracts, and potential mitigations we're looking at is, potentially looking at monitoring our suppliers, vendors, and counterparties with periodic assessments. The next one we have is change in law or regulation. So same, we have engagement in our regulatory and legislative arenas and collaborate with CCA. The potential mitigation with this one is just having a deeper political relationship with at the state level. Next one, public information. Right now, Gwen's team is active monitoring social media platforms, and they have a communication strategy with our stakeholders. One thing, potential that we can look at is, rapid response framework, expanding partnerships with trusted local influencers and media and communication organizations. And finally, our last risk is also a catch-all. It's legal risk. So one of the big wins we have in place is we hired a general counsel. So that's, I think a big step forward for legal risk. But, you know, there could be more with periodic review of contracts, requirement for legal counsel to review everything before anything gets signed, and, you know, different platforms of software that we could look at.
One thing I would suggest, if you haven't already, and I don't know if it comes under cybersecurity, it came up in our city. We have, on our cloud suite, we have Microsoft 365, people are using AI Copilot. And some people were using Copilot with confidential documents. And then we had someone came back and said, oh, no, Microsoft says it's all encrypted and they don't use it. They won't use anything within your contract for AI training where it would go outside of your organization. But there's another vulnerability. Someone could potentially within the organization ask a question where, because it's within your organization, they may be made privy to confidential HR files or confidential contracts from finance. And so you have to put in your own firewall so that inadvertently any employee using AI is not made privy to information they don't have authorization to touch. And that's something nobody had thought of.
We have in place pretty stringent AI guidelines, but that's a physical
Yes,
also. So let us double check that and we will definitely get back to this for. That's.
it's a weird one.
Well, with AI, I mean, we have a informal discussion at the CEO level CCAs, and this is one of the topics. So like, what are we seeing out there, mostly from a hacking perspective with AI? And sort of the recommendations back and forth between CCAs around ways to mitigate that, so.
Well, and
Thanks for
it
flagging.
also presents, what if someone has a laptop and they're within the system and they have the information on their laptop that they got access to something confidential and then it ends up going beyond.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. Share that.
it's a weird one.
Any other comments, questions?
How do we do the top 10 already?
Yeah.
All right, letting me go faster.
You did a great job, Kelly.
Director Nash, then Director Pratt.
I just want to say I am so impressed that the organization is doing this and also that you've taken it to the next step, and just kudos. Thank you. Really impressive.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. It's great, detailed, and really think about all the different categories and what can we do about it. And again, maybe the answer is nothing, but we know about it, and it's fantastic.
I have one more comment, then will be public opportunity. So with the other CACs,
The CCAs. Yeah, I got you.
you're absolutely right. Are these items being shared, kind of like just for perspective that what the other CCAs are doing?
Yes, so there is like and Kim's not here, but there's, I believe it's AI, and it's a data and IT working group.
Yeah.
At Cal CCA. They have all kinds of different subcommittees and stuff. So there is that one that Kim and team participate on.
Yeah.
And then there's, like I said, we have a regular CEO check-in with all kinds of different topics, this
Sure.
being one of them.
I mean, one
So
thing
we
else,
trade.
one thing great about this industry is we're not competitors.
We are,
And
or
so
not, yeah.
I mean, we're, yeah, well,
With each other.
no, yeah, and I mean, the other CCA, so there's a lot of sharing of best practices. So there's a risk subcommittee that
Yes.
Kelly is on. I'll be candid, it's mostly focused on energy risks. I think we are, I'm not saying we're the best, but we are the forefront of looking beyond energy. And so enterprise is kind of a new area, but on the energy side, they just sent out a survey that I can't wait to see the results, because maybe it'll cause us to want to update our energy risk policy. So there is a lot of sharing, just even at the risk level in IT.
Great. So then we're going to public comment, if any.
Again, there are no members of the public online.
Right.
Should we be hurt that no one listens to our, joining our meetings, or? I
There's
gotta get- I
plenty of
gotta not-
staff online.
Yes,
Staff
I
is
know.
listening.
What else do we have to do Monday?
No public.
Okay, so
Thank you.
discussion item noted and moving forward.
Our next item is committee members' reports. And assuming no public comment for this item. either.
Anyone? No, okay. Now we're gonna go into closed session.
Okay, so our final item is closed session of public employee performance evaluation pursuant to a government code for the CEO. And this committee will reconvene after the meeting, if any action was taken. But we will not be reconvening on the Zoom platform because that is silly because nobody's online anyway. So any action will be notated to me and take it from there. I don't believe there'll be actions coming out of this. Is there any public comment on the closed session? Seeing none.
Nally?
Yep, Anders, I'm gonna send you a link.
Okay, all right, so I just want to make sure.
Thank you.
I need an additional link for this. And for committee members report, I don't have anything to report. I just want to say happy birthday to our chair, Medina.
It was yesterday, so thank you.
Happy 25.
Thank you, Anders. That's good to know.
29 and holding.
It's officially 60, so that's amazing.
Oh, boy. Really?
Yeah.
That's a
I
big
have-
milestone.
It's
How come you look so much better than me?
it's in the eye of the beholder. So thank you very much. We're going into closed session.
Yes, so Anders, I'm gonna end this meeting and I will email you a link once I have the next one up.
Thank so much.
Thank you.
You got a weekend birthday?